friends, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, please do click on the subscribe button. Thank you, and on with today's topic, that is book. As George R.R. Martin has said, a reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only one. So today you will see the top 6 books in my list that you should read at least once in your lifetime. Read them once and I promise you, you will read them again and again. And the books that I will mention today are books that will stay with you even after you finish reading them. These are my favorite and I have ranked them according to my liking. Some of you might have a different ranking and that is okay because to each their own. I would also like to mention that this list does not include series, even though I love the series like Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Hunger Games series and etc. But I'd like to make it clear that today's video contains only single books. Thank you. So these are my top 6 books and some others too. At number 6, I actually have 2 books, both of which I could not rank above or below the other. Though they are absolutely different books, they both stand at number 6 in my list. One is a novel about 4 sisters and their life, and the second is a young adult novel about an introvert boy who has a very different and interesting perspective on life. So the first book at number 6 is Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. It is the first published in the year 1868. It is a coming-of-age novel and revolves around the life of 4 sisters. The gem of this novel is its agelessness, as even though it was written a long time ago and is based on old times, but from the very beginning of the story, we connect with these 4 sisters and are rewarded with an enjoyable experience. If you want a light and easy read, this is the book to pick up. The tale of 4 sisters and their ups and downs, their daily life is worth reading. And this book also encompasses love, loss, and life. I have personally reread this book several times. And the second book, which is on my list in number 6, is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. The main protagonist in this is a wallflower, as he just stays in the background and is an introvert but is always looking around and observing everybody. This book is written in the first person perspective of that protagonist, which is very interesting. It is also an epistolary novel. This book was published in the year 1999 and the protagonist's way of thinking, which is unconventional as he deals with adolescence and adulthood, is what makes the novel unique and creative. This book will keep you hooked up till the end, and it will also give you a different perspective to think about. At number 5 is a novel which is unique in its concept. It mixes the genres of romance and science fiction, and it encompasses issues of love, loss, and free will. The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey McNeil. It was published in the year 2003. This book deals with time traveling in such a way that you feel that time traveling is real. This book is about a man who, due to his genetic disorder, can time travel unpredictably. It talks about his wife who is left behind every time he time travels, and to various possibilities that this time travel gives them. This book is astonishing and one of a kind. This book makes you believe that this couple is real and time traveling is real. It realistically deals with the daily life of a time traveler and also manages to touch your heart. Next, at number 4, is a historical novel, a tale set during Nazi Germany, 1939. The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. It was published in the year 2005. This story is narrated by Death himself, who despite being busier than ever, takes a liking to a girl, her life, and follows her life, her living, and her actions very closely. This girl, Lisette, lives with her foster parents during the peak of the World War II. She discovers her love for reading books, meets a Jewish man and helps him hide from the Nazis, and lives what life people could live in Nazi Germany. This book is very interesting and keeps you hooked from the beginning, right from the first speech by Death It gives us a very real picture of how life was in Germany during that time. A fantastic story by Death himself. And next, at number 3, we have another historical fiction which gives us a true peek into the lives of a geisha, a life which the geishas must have lived during their time. The Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. It was first published in the year 1997. This novel breaks all the myths and false notions that people have about a geisha and the life of a geisha. It gives us a compelling story of a geisha from a point of view of Sayuri, who has seen a lot of hardship and pain at an early age. Sayuri lives the life of a geisha working in Kyoto, Japan before, during and after the World War II. Sayuri's understanding of pain, misery and the intensity of it, a struggle as she climbs up the glorious and fashionable ladder of becoming a geisha, pull you into the novel, and every page you turn only makes you go deeper and deeper. This peek into the historical time of the geishas transports you to the time and setting of the book and makes you want to go back and see it all with your own eyes. Read the Memoirs of a Geisha to find out just how one meeting, a meeting with a person, can change your whole life, your ambition, and the way you look at life. At number 2 is a book which fills me up with those deep emotions that comes to you sometimes, and it makes me cry every time I read it. I have narrated the story of this book as best as possible to many people, and it was capable of making all of them cry. The book is 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khaled Hosseini. It was published in the year 2007. I do not think that my words will be able to do justice to what this book really is. Just read this once. It will stay in your heart and stay with you forever. This story is about Mariam. This story is about Lela. Everything else about them being different, there is one string that joins them in their fate. This novel beautifully depicts all the human emotions, and according to me, this is the best of Khaled Hosseini. The story is set in Afghanistan and at a time where women folk are still oppressed and equality of women to men frowned upon in the society. Even those who try to advocate equality are frowned upon. It shows us what it is like for women to live in such a circumstance. Read this book and it will shred your heart to pieces every time you read it. You have one life and do not miss the opportunity of reading this book once in your lifetime. Now we will shortly come up with the top 1 book in my list, but before that there are some honorable mentions. Number 1 is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier, published in the year 1938. The protagonist is an unnamed timid girl who marries a widower and is haunted by the glories and successes of the first wife, and there are secrets more to discover. The Kite Runner is the first book of Mr. Khaled Hosseini, published in the year 2003. It is set in Afghanistan. It is about a young boy and his friend, a sexual assault that breaks their friendship, and a guilt-ridden man who works for redemption. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, published in the year 1950, is written by C.L. Lewis. Everybody has heard about the Chronicles of Narnia. This book is the first written book of this series, and it is a fantasy novel and quite famous. The Color Purple by Alice Walker is an epistolary novel. It was published in the year 1982. It was also adapted into a film and musical. It is set mostly in rural Georgia. The story focuses on the life of an African American woman and the social issues. Next, The Great Gatsby is a 1975 novel written by the writer F. Scott Fitzgerald. And what got me into this book was actually the movie that was based on this book by the same name. The story is mainly focused on a mysterious young millionaire. It has a certain charm to it once you read it. On to the must-awaited number 1. At number 1 is a story very dear to my heart. Not only is the story which is actually a diary a life changer, but the story behind this book is one which gives you goosebumps. The book is the diary of a young girl, also known as the Diary of Anne Frank. It is an autobiography by Anne Frank herself, and all of you know Anne, a young girl who went into hiding with her family for 2 years during the Nazi occupation of Netherlands. Anne Frank died in a concentration camp in 1945. This story was published in English in the year 1952. I first read this book when I was 13 years old, and I felt a deep connection with Anne Frank, as she is not only a great writer but also my birthday twin. Though we are years and decades apart, and she actually receives the diary which prompts her to write this brilliant piece of history as her birthday gift. This diary gives us a prospect of a life of a young girl in hiding during a time which we can only imagine and feel the terror of. This piece of brilliancy is a must read, and I request you to read it at least once. If you like this video, please do hit that like, subscribe and comment button. Thank you so much, and see you guys next time.